I'm Jaime Rice. I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you about a course that Mary Irby of White Crow Yoga and I are offering, Drsika Pancha Asanas. So it is a perspective of 5 poses. Paschimottanasana, some people would refer to that as seated forward fold. Ardha Matsyendrasana, or half Lord of the Fish, seated spinal twist. And Dhanurasana, wheel, chakrasana, upward bow, some people call it back bend, and as well as Parsva Kakasana, or side crow pose, and then also Parigasana, gate pose. And I'm going to take one of the postures for this little demo today to show you how the course kind of breaks it down. Throughout the course, you'll get access to about 75 pages worth of notes that have diagrams and pictures, way more than you'll need, but just in case you want to dig a little deeper, it'll have something that while you're in the course you can have access to. You'll get a summary sheet at the end to take with you that sort of collapses all that into a basic structure. You'll have 2 one-hour videos, a class format, so that you can incorporate that into your own teaching, a 20-minute tutorial. And through that course, we'll look at the Sanskrit and how that informs our practice, as well as the anatomy, and some poses will touch on the chakra system and provide some other useful information. So let's take Paschimottanasana, or what many of us call seated forward fold. So the term actually in Sanskrit means intense westward or back stretch. And we'll come into Paschimottanasana, which is, it is a fold. We hinge forward at the hips. And so we'll learn about the anatomy, that, what muscles are lengthened and what muscles are strengthened, and some joint actions. So we're stretching the plantaris muscles in the bottom of the feet, the gastrocnemius, the hamstrings, and the lats, and perhaps even the deltoids, depending on what we're doing with our arms. So if we learn that for Paschimottanasana, we can incorporate those things that we learned for this specific asana into other asanas that have similar movement patterns. So we'll stay here. Let's look at some props, which is one of the things that we'll be looking at, is how to make things a little more challenging, or maybe we could say meaningful, and then also to make them more accessible. So although it's not the case for me, I do have many friends and students who are not really challenged by Paschimottanasana as far as being limber or having the long muscles. It could be that, when you have someone like that in class, you need to have something so that you can say, okay, we really want to engage the front of the body, because the lengthening part is just something that comes natural for them. So you can add a block. Okay, the block is also something that you can use for some friends to help them to reach toward the block. If the legs seem really too far away, you can say, keeping your crown of your head forward, reach toward the block. So that's one aspect. And then we'll take a look at the strap. So for some of us, the feet seem really, really far away. And so we can use a strap, a tie, whatever, to help with pressing the feet in, especially the inner edges of the feet, and to make that pose more accessible. We could also use the wall to make the pose perhaps more meaningful, getting all 4 corners of the feet pressed into the wall, engaging the quadriceps. So those are some concepts and strategies that we use with Paschimottanasana. Well, what other posture is a hinge like that, as a forward fold? Well, one very familiar one, Uttanasana, our forward fold, right? So here we are. Maybe we have some friends who are really limber. I would suggest, if we're going to use blocks under the feet, we use 2 blocks, right? 1 foot for each, so they can do the forward fold using their 2 blocks. Or perhaps some of us, the floor is just way too far away, and for whatever reason, reaching the abdomen toward the thighs is just not happening. and they need something to put their hands on, so we can use blocks to help bring that accessible, just like we do in Paschimottanasana, okay? So that's the upper body folding forward, as in Paschimottanasana. So what other posture has this folding or this hinging at the hip? Well, Utthita Hasta Padangustasana, hand to big toe. So let's think about that. How can we incorporate the exact same thing that we did? Well, what about a strap? So some friends may not be able to reach the hand to the big toe, so we can use the strap, much like what we did Paschimottanasana, to help to engage the quadricep. And then also the wall. A lot of times people struggle with keeping the bottom leg straight, so perhaps the wall can make this more accessible, so they can put their foot wherever they want, right? And then we can work with pressing the heel into the wall and really engaging the quadricep. So that's just one example of how, even though it's only 5 poses, from that one pose we have learned the anatomy and the props, how to use them for 3, and I think this is probably about 5 minutes. I hope this has sort of given you an idea of what the course is all about. If you have any questions, please email me at jbrice.ricejb@gmail.com. If you're interested in taking the course, go to whitecrowyoga.com, training, and then online courses, and you'll find Drsika Pancha Asanas. In the chapter on practice, the Sadhanapana, Patanjali reminds us that whatever comes our way, we're being disciplined and refined by it. And in Philippians 4, the writer Paul reminds us that he has learned to be content in every circumstance. No matter where we are in our practice, knowing the intent of the posture and how to make the postures more meaningful to our students, to ourselves first, and more accessible makes all the difference in the world. So it's not this specific look that we're trying to achieve. It's what is the intent of the posture, what's behind that, and how can I better bring that to my students. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to see you in the course. Namaste.